Hey mini enthusiasts, how you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're all having a great week, and this is a pretty random update this week. So we're just updating on bits and bobs. We're going to do rocker cover on PL. I'm going to talk about some new tools I bought, a little cut-off tool, lithium ion rechargeable cut-off tool grinder, covers on indoor car covers for PL and Vinny. We're going to do straighten up the steering wheel on PL. What else? I think that's it. So sit back, enjoy. One more thing, just a quick mention. So tomorrow is National Mini Cooper Day at Bewley. I will be taking down PL. That's why I've been doing some work on it today. So hopefully if you're down there, say hi. I'll try and get some photos and video and get them uploaded ASAP. Cheers. Right guys, so before we get on to the technical bits, I need to do a few shout outs, and I always forget people, so I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm well overdue some shout outs. I'm going to do some write outs. So here we go. Right, I don't think I've missed anyone, but you never know. Nearly forgot one. Right, so I've seen other YouTubers do it and decided to give it a go myself, is do a little diagram. So I'll show you in a moment. I've done the tracking on PL last week down at Mark's, and he's got a pair of I would call them Dunlop tracking gauges. So they fit on the side of the wheels, have a little laser at the front, and you can set the toe in and toe out with them. Pretty good, pretty effective. So I set the track in, and then I noticed afterwards when I road tested it, tracking was spot on, wasn't pulling at all, but the steering wheel was ever so slightly off. Now, on an older Mini without an airbag, it's pretty simple. You can just undo the steering wheel, lift it off, move it around the spline, and you're back to central again. On a Mini with an airbag, that's not so simple to do. You can't just take the steering wheel off and put it around another spline. Well, I suppose you can, but it's more tricky to do. So what we need to do is adjust it on the track rod ends, which is pretty simple to do, but you need to give it a bit of forethought first. So I'll show you what the steering wheel looks like now. So here's the Mini wheel as it is in the straight ahead position. So the car is steering directly straight ahead, but the steering wheel is slightly off to the right. So we need to adjust it by moving it that way. So as you can see, it's just off to the right a little bit, and it needs to come round to the left. So let's get our little technical diagram. First off, we're going to draw a couple of wheels on here. So if you imagine that's the wheels of our Mini, and the track rod ends, or the steering rack, the track rod ends connect at the back end of the wheels. Now that's quite important. Some cars they connect at the front, in front of the centre line of the wheels. On a Mini they connect at the back. So where the steering arms come off the hub, they sit at the back. So if you imagine this is our steering rack running along the back of the wheels here, connects either end via the track rod ends, and then if we draw our steering wheel on, so that's our steering wheel, and it's currently slightly off centre, so we'll over exaggerate it a little bit. So if you imagine it's like that, and then the spindle is in the middle there. So the steering wheel's off to the right, and we need to adjust it so the steering wheel moves round to the left. But we need to do that without moving the wheels, because the tracking, the wheel alignment is perfect. So what we need to do, as you imagine that, that's connected to the steering rack there, and as we turn that round to the left, what's going to happen is the track rod end, or the track rod, is going to get pushed in on this wheel, and it's going to get pulled out on that wheel. So what we need to do is make this track rod end shorter, and we need to screw the thread in, and we need to make this track rod end longer, so we need to screw the thread out. Everyone get that? So what we're going to do, it's only a very slight adjustment we need to do. We're just going to do half a turn on the track rod ends. So we're going to screw this side in half a turn, that side out half a turn. And as long as we do it symmetrical, we do the opposite, exactly the opposite we do on one side to the other, the actual tracking will stay perfect. So I'm going to do that bit off camera, because it's quite difficult to get the camera in there and see what I'm doing, and it's pretty boring, to be honest. I think you'll probably understand what's going on here. So that's that job pretty much done. Steering wheel spot on now. Unfortunately, while I was under there looking, both steering rack boots look perished, and the rubbers on the knuckle joints as well. And again, frustratingly, it's just where the rubber's deteriorated. So they're not split, it's just the rubber cracking, which really does my head in. Rack boots are 2 years old, I think. Done them when I've done the subframe. So at least they're inexpensive, and I can pick a pair up from Bewley. Hey mini enthusiasts, how you doing? So I thought I'd just show you this briefly this week. So this is an indoor car cover. So I have right problems, or it really annoys me, with the dust that's created. Comes up from the floor, and when it's windy outside, obviously it whips up off the driveway. You get leaves and all sorts of things in here. The dust is just a flipping nightmare, because I'll clean the car, put them in here, and within a week or two's time they're just covered in a layer of dust. So I need some indoor dust covers for them. I know John Cooper or Mini Sport do a really nice sort of fitted car cover, but I'm sure it's about £200. Looks great, but I don't know whether I want to spend that on it. You know, if it was in a showroom, fair enough, but it's not. It's in a garage. It gets dusty in here. You know, I do welding in here, grinding in here, so it's just really protecting the cars, keeping the dust off them. But I did find on eBay that a company, I think they're called Speedwell Classics, do a tailored indoor car cover for a Mini, and they're just under 40 quid. They're 39 quid delivered, I think. So I thought I'd buy that, give it a go. I've only bought one, because obviously if it's no good, then I won't bother buying one for PL. But they do them in red and black. So I thought I'd give one a go, see how it is, and if it's any good, then I'll buy another one. So let's get it fitted, see what it looks like. The material itself, it feels very much like what they'd make a tent out of. So I don't think it's meant to be waterproof. I think it probably is though. But like I said, it's an indoor car cover. It's not meant for outdoors, and it's really just to keep the dust off. So let's get it fitted and see what it looks like. I assume somewhere there's a pair of mirrors. Then I'll know which end is the front. So there we go. That's it. That's the mirror there, so that must be the front. Well, there we go. Let me take you for a look around. It seems to fit quite nicely. Nice little pockets for the mirrors, and what I do like is it's what I would call full height. So, you know, it's right down. There's only about an inch gap at the bottom. There's straps down there, so you can strap it to the other side. I don't know why you'd have them. It is sold as an indoor car cover, so you wouldn't expect it to be windy indoors. But yeah, I like the fact that it goes right down to the floor, and right underneath the back as well. So it's, as you know, with dust, just gets everywhere, and that's down to the floor on both sides. So yeah, it's all right. That I'm quite pleased with that for 40 quid, or it's under 40 quid. And I think I'll get another one for PL. So the car cover I'm pretty pleased with, and I've bought a second one for PL now, and it's actually black. That's the inside, it's silver inside. But what I thought would be interesting to see, so these are indoor car covers. It doesn't say anything about them being waterproof, and I suppose indoors it doesn't really matter. But like I say, they're made from like temp material. They do appear to be waterproof, so I guess, you know, if you needed an overnight cover for a show or something like that, these would probably be ideal because they're small, lightweight, easy to put on, you know, and relatively inexpensive. And I think I'll probably do that. I'll probably stick one in the boot when I go to a show. And just to show you, like I say, they are perfectly waterproof as well. So quite handy that is. But I thought I'd just show you this. So this is a mini angle grinder cut-off tool. It's more a cut-off tool rather than an angle grinder. And it's Parkside, so it comes from Lidl. I must just say they don't sponsor me or anything like that. Like I say, sometimes when I find something and it's quite useful, I feel obliged to share it with you. So if you haven't used a cut-off tool before, don't know whether you have, but they're quite handy for doing light bits of bodywork where you've got to cut round things, or where you've got to cut a bit of metal off, maybe a bolt that's too long or something like that. They're small, quick, easy to use, and they're quite neat and tidy. So what I'd typically use is an air cut-off tool like this one. That's exactly the same tool. Does the same job. Ignore the fact that there's no guard on there. Obviously I wouldn't use it like that, would I? So that's what I'd usually use, but obviously you're restricted by the airline there, which can be difficult when you're trying to get into hard to reach places. So a battery powered one seems really useful. So I actually saw these for sale a few months ago now at Lidl. They at the time then and now they're £29.99, which is really cheap. So if you go out and you buy like the Bosch version of this, I'm sure they're knocking on £200 with a spare battery. Might even be more than that, but don't quote me on that. They're a lot more expensive, and they do pretty much the same job. Obviously I'm sure the Bosch one will have better bearings and it has better torque control and that sort of thing. But if you're just a hobbyist, and it's something you're going to use once in a while, this might do you quite well. So I'll just show you how it works quickly. Like I said, it's 29 quid. I got the spare battery as well. They were 8 quid, I think. So sort of 37, 38 quid in total. Comes with a charger. It comes with a cutting disc in there, although I've just swapped the cutting disc over for one that I know is a good quality metal cutting disc. So PPE, very important. Hopefully you won't look down on the video and see I'm wearing flip-flops. Ignore that. But definitely goggles, and they should be goggles that are graded for cutting discs as well, because if you just put standard goggles on, it's not going to stop the cutting disc. And some heavy duty gloves. So just give it a go, show you what it does. So this is 1 mil steel. It's mild steel. It's the sort of stuff you would be using on car bodywork repairs. So it goes through thin steel like butter. Like I say, that might be a case that's underneath or inside the car somewhere you can't get tin snips in, or a hacksaw or something like that, and it goes through it quite nicely. I did notice actually that has some sort of torque control on it as well, so if you slow the blade down too much or apply too much torque, it just stops, which is a safety feature. So you know, if you slip and start going through your leg or something like that, it will stop before it chops your leg off, which is quite handy. We do have another little job, so I need to replace a rocker cover gasket, and I've actually bought one of these silicon rubber rocker cover gaskets as opposed to the cork gaskets. These are better quality. They shouldn't leak at all. You always find the cork ones tend to leak a little bit. You get a bit of seepage on them. So I'm going to replace that, and hopefully that will sort out any seepage. So there we go. Like I say, they always weep a little bit, which is a little bit frustrating. I always super glue the cork gaskets on just to stop them moving about when you fit them. Don't know whether to super glue this in place like I normally do. I think I do. I just put a couple of blobs on it. There we go. So the glue's there just to hold it in place while I lower it down. So, little handy hint for you here. It's always worth taking the cap off, getting a torch, and then looking inside the rocker cover, and you can see whether the gaskets come out inside or not.